Awesome. All right, so I'll go ahead and get started. So today we're going to go over our online booking. So there's a couple unique things that you need to keep in mind when we're doing online booking, but if you can all see my screen right now, I'm going to go to our appointments tab. So the first thing you're going to see here is our appointment list. So this is going to be any appointment that's been booked through the online appointment booking link. And we'll do a test case and you'll see that it will then show up here. But basically, once the patient shows up on this list, you can always filter to find certain patients by either their appointment type or the date that they scheduled. You can also filter by their source, their status, and then you can also search for any patient names. And then on the right-hand side over here, you can also filter by either new patients or existing patients. And then also by insurances. Okay, so let's get into the meat of this, which is the settings page. So from the settings page, you're going to see a couple different things. Now, before we dive into this, I do want to call out that one of the most important settings to have for online booking is to make sure that your office and provider hours are set first off. So you can keep your office hours the same throughout the week. So let's say you do 8 to 5 with a lunch from 1 to 2. Now you can keep this the same, and then all the providers under here will have the same office hours. Or let's say I have, John Smith, and he doesn't work maybe on a Monday. So if this is blank, and then he has other times available that are different from the office hours, then I would suggest you just leave that here as it's going to correlate with the online booking schedule that they also have available. So that's the first step. Either keep them as the same as office hours or give them a specific, schedule that they adhere to from here, this page. Next, on the settings page as well, you'll want to go to the employees page, and this is going to be an important one when it comes to who's available for online booking. So on your employees page, you're going to see all employees that have been entered in your practice management system. Once you're on here, you'll make sure that they're set as an active user and then as a provider as well. And then you'll just want to also ensure that their active provider ID is the one that's selected here, since that'll be the one that gets all of the appointments synced back to when they are being booked online. Now, another thing that comes to mind with the online booking is if for any reason a provider who is on or is being used on online booking, if they leave the practice for any reason, the first thing that you're going to want to do before you inactivate them from this employees page is to remove them from the online booking. And I'll go through that in a moment, but just be sure to remove them from there first before you try to just inactivate them from this page. All right, now let's go back to our appointment booking page. We'll go to settings. And then the first thing you're going to see here is this auto update the PMS with the booked appointments. This is mostly used just so that you're not having to manually sync any appointments. It'll just automatically do it. And this is what's most frequently used by our practices. I wouldn't really suggest doing the alert and don't auto sync, but that's totally up to you. The next thing you're going to see is the days of the week. So here you'll be able to choose which days you want patients to be able to book through the online booking link. So even if you're open Monday through Friday, but maybe you just want to do it on a Tuesday and Wednesday, you can inactivate that here. Well, let's see. Let's remove from there. Well, it won't let you remove those days unless there's no provider that's scheduled to work on those days. So the system will also just give you warnings as you try to make changes, but just keep that in mind. You will have to go to the provider hours or office and provider hours to adjust that or adjust that in here. So like if I take those off, let's see if that'll work for me. No. Well, yeah, so you'll first make that change in the office and provider hours and then come back here. You should be able to just toggle those days off. The next thing that you'll see is the chairs. So you'll be able to select which chairs are available for online booking as they correlate to the providers. You can also then set up if you want to ask patients about their dental insurance. So if you select set up insurances, it'll give you the option to choose from this list here, or you can add a new custom insurance. And then the patient will see these messages depending on which category they fall into. So if they're uninsured, they'll see this. If they have an in-network insurance, they'll receive this message. Out of network, anyone who selects other. So various messages that they'll see there. And then you can also block patients who select other insurances, or you can select don't allow out-of-network insurance. And that way it just adds some blocks when any patient is trying to book an appointment online. The next thing you'll see is your provider list. So anyone who is an active provider at the practice will show up on this list. Now, let's say I just want to have John Smith and Test Dentist. I'll go ahead and select both of them. Then the next thing you'll see is that they just kind of appear here in this edit mode. So the next thing you'll want to do is select edit. You'll select which chairs they're available for. So let's say they are just on operatory 1, whether they're a doctor or a hygienist. You'll select their gender, and then you'll select their availability. So like I said, it's already going to go based off of whatever the setup provider hours have been set. This link right here will take you directly to that page if you need to make any changes. And then down here, you can just also kind of update their availability for online booking separately from their provider hours. So if my test dentist is only available Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to remove the rest of them. And then you can also add any additional blockouts. So the blockouts, it's already going to go based off of the schedule. So if on Tuesday he's available from 8 to 5 with a lunch from 1 to 2, that's already going to be taken into account. But let's say on Tuesday, for some reason, he has maybe, he's busy until about noon. So we'll block those times off. So 8, 10, 11, 12, it already take into account his lunch break. And then you can leave 2 through 4 to 5, this setting right here. And those will be the only options that appear for him. So let's leave it as is that way so that we can get some examples when we go to do a test appointment. And then we'll leave Thursday just open based on his provider hours set. And then we'll save that there. And then we'll activate the provider. We'll do the same thing for John. We'll give him operatory 3. He's a doctor. And then we're going to say he's available Monday through Friday. No blockout times. We'll just go based off of his provider hours. And then we'll activate them here. And let's just make sure that his provider hours are set. So we'll do 8, 5. Okay, so now John's hours are going to be the same as the office hours, and our test dentist is only going to be available on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay, let's double check that we have that set up. Perfect. Okay. Please. Okay, let's make sure we save our changes this time. All right, now we have our providers, John Smith on op1 or op3, and then test dentist on operatory 1. The next thing is going to be to create your visit types. So these will be shown to the patients when they go to the online booking platform. So let's see, right now we have a general visit. Here you can choose whether this is for new patients only or for returning patients as well. So if they're both selected in blue, that means both can be, both kinds of patients can book this appointment. Next, we'll select which provider is able to take this appointment. We'll select our test dentist, and then you can see his operatory is already selected. Here you'll select the appointment type, and this will come from your practice management system. And just keep in mind that if ever you delete an appointment type, it needs to be updated in the visit type as well, or it will cause errors with syncing the appointment back to your practice management software. Here you'll add the duration of the appointment, and then below this will be a description. So this is just what the patient sees when they book that appointment. Maybe just a note about what kind of visit this is or any general information you want to provide about your practice. If you need to rearrange the order of these appointments, you can always select that and then it'll move it down because it does show these visit types in the order in which they're present here. Let's then say this is a new patient exam. And we're only going to allow new patients. And then we'll select John Smith. His operatory has been now selected. And then we'll select a different appointment type. And then we'll keep the duration to 60 minutes as well. Once you've selected and entered all of the information that you want for these appointments, you can activate them. And then this gear wheel here is some advanced settings for each appointment type as well. So if, let's say, you want to get a little bit more specific with who can book a new patient exam, you would select the advanced settings. And then here you can customize what age groups can book this appointment, whether you want to allow the patient to be able to choose between providers. So if you have maybe, 2 to 3 providers for this visit type, you can select this, and then the patient won't be given an option to choose their provider. You can also select if you want to override the auto sync appointment for this specific visit type. You can allow or disallow existing patients to book if they are due for their recall, so you can select that. And then you can also limit when the soonest available appointment is and when the furthest appointment is. So you can do that either days or hours. You can follow the settings that are already set, or you can change it between, 2 hours, what have you. And the same can be done for this one. And then whenever you are changing a visit type, just be sure that the provider is active here. If you need to inactivate it, it'll give you some prompts to let you know, you've removed this provider, but another one needs to be added and whatnot. And then you can also delete these visit types if you are no longer using them. And then you can add a new one at any time as well. Okay, now that we've had our visit types created, we can also do some custom questions. So this will show up similarly to the insurance question. And then you can select set up custom questions here. You'll select add new. And then you can select what type of question. Is it a single choice, multiple choice, date? Is it just text? Who's going to see this question, whether it's all patients or just new or existing patients? And then which visit types this question will appear. You can also set these to active, and then you can also choose to make them either required or not required. So if they're not required, they'll still come up for the patient, but they can choose to ignore them. Let's say we want to require this, and we will do, let's see, when was your last visit? Having some trouble saving, but it should work for you if you try that. But you have that option to create custom questions here. The next thing you can also add is credit card collection. So this helps if for some reason you have a lot of cancellations, you can always ask your patients to add a credit card before they can book their appointment. And as you can see, you can include a message here as well. So our practice requires a credit card on file, and then you'll just toggle that on so that it will then ask them to provide a credit card. And same here, you can do this for if it's all patients, patients who indicate they are new, or patients who are existing patients. And then you can also do it per visit type. Next, we have appointment availability. So you can set this in either 10 minutes or 15-minute intervals. You can choose when the soonest available appointment is. So if we have it in days, it's 1 day out. You can also make this in hours. So if you're trying to fill maybe like an open slot, you can do this to be 3 hours out. You can also set the furthest appointment available. So if we go to the appointment link, we will be able to see appointments that are 12 months out. And then you can always change that. So let's do 6 months, and then we'll see how that looks when we go to our link. And then below here, we have a couple additional settings. So most of you still have one that we are slowly phasing out called cluster appointments. So you won't see that coming soon, and we don't really recommend using that. But basically, it would allow for grouping multiple appointments together for certain visit types, but that, like I said, will be slowly phased out. The next thing that we have is provider time availability. So this will only offer appointments that have no conflict with provider availability on different chairs at the same time. We also have a practice and provider schedule from PMS. So if this is selected, we are going to take your schedule exactly as you have it entered in your practice management software. And then we also have enable using practice management software schedule blocks for visit types. So this one is a bit more specific to Open Dental and Dentrix. But if we enable this, then we will be able to see all blockouts that you have on your schedule. And then prevent scheduling only for Open Dental blockouts with the block appointment scheduling. this was somewhat of a fix in terms of the blockout. So now if you're using the enable using PMS schedule blocks for visit types, you don't have to have this one enabled. This will replace this setting right here. And then lastly, on this page, you'll see a multi-practice setup. So if you have multiple locations, if you click this, we can then have 2 locations appear on the same online booking page. And then the patient can choose which location that they're booking for. So if I select this, then this other location is going to come up. Let's be sure to save that. And then up here, once you've done all of your settings, just make sure that this is active. Okay, the next thing we're going to see are templates. So these are all the templates that we currently have to go out for certain types of appointments that are booked, or if the patient is blocked. So we have blocked, denied, denied appointment and rebook invitation, conflicted appointment, existing patient booked appointment, and new patient booked appointment. These last 2, you can always inactivate them if you prefer them not to go out once the patient books. For any of these, you can also test the email that gets sent so you can see what it looks like. You can preview it, and you can make any edits as well. So these are all of your templates. Just be sure that you save after any changes. And you can also reset all templates. So if you make changes to a bunch of these and decide, you know what, I need to go back to the default settings, you can do that from here. Next, we're going to go to filtering. So this will just add some additional layers as to which patients will be able to book appointments online. So if we want to block patients with certain tags, you can add those tags here. So let's say I'm going to do this test one. I'll save that tag there. Search for my patient. I will add that test tag here. And now anytime Phil goes to try to book an appointment online, he's going to be blocked from booking because we have this tag here and the tag in his profile. Next, you can also choose to block patients with any of the following insurances. So this will be a list from your practice management software, and then you can just choose whichever insurance you'd like to block. You can also block patients with failed appointments. So if we leave it as is right now, anyone that has 8 failed appointments in the last 2 years would be redirected to call the practice in order to book their next appointment. But you can always change this. So if it's 2 for the last 6 months, whatever you prefer that to be. And then you can also block patients with certain service codes. So you'd select the service codes here. And then how many times they've had this service code count in the duration that you select here. So 2 years, in the last 1 year, in the last 6 months, whatever that may be, anyone who's had that particular service code will not be able to book online. And then lastly is our widgets page. So from here, you will see you can choose a color scheme. And this will be what the patient sees when they go to this link. So let's say we want to change it from purple to blue. We then provide a default scheduling link, or we can create a custom link here. So typically your practice name, and that way instead of, these numbers, it'll just say your practice name. For this purpose, I'm just going to use this link that we already have. Next, you'll see referral source-based links. So anytime you choose a referral source from here, it's going to generate a new link. And then you can share this with either a referral partner, or you can add it as a link on a Google ad. And then anytime that link is clicked, you'll be able to track where the appointment came from. Next, we have our embedding script. So this allows the booking widget to appear on your website. So you could just give this script to any of your web designers, and then they'll be able to implement that to your website. And that way you'll have a button where patients can book directly from your page. And then lastly, we have a conversion tracking section. So right now it's a default appointment booking confirmation page that comes from the widget. But let's say you have your own confirmation page. You can select redirect. You can select how long it takes for that redirect delay. So let's say the appointment is booked, maybe set it to like 3 seconds. And then you can add that redirect link here. So anytime someone books an appointment, it'll take them maybe to your own website's page that says, thank you so much for booking. We look forward to having you. Please, fill out these forms or whatnot. Once you've made those changes, you'll just click save. And now let's go ahead and take a look at our portal and we'll do a test booking. So this is what it looked like before as purple. Let's go ahead and do a quick refresh. Do not save. Okay. Perfect. So now you can see it changed to the blue that we selected. The next thing you're going to see is it asks if you're a new patient or a returning patient. And then it'll give your logo and your practice name, the city and state, and the phone number for the practice. And then below here will be a map. So let's say I am a new patient. As I mentioned before, as we were setting up the visit types, we now see our 2 visit types here, new patient exam and general visit. From the settings page, you can always change the order of these. I'm going to say I'm a new patient. Actually, let's do general visit. And then you see I have the test dentist since he's the only provider that we selected for this visit type. It's giving us the earliest that he's available right now. But let's say if I want to select see more options, it's going to give me all the times that he's free. And then as you could see, we had set up some blockout types. So it's giving me Thursday availability. 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. is blocked off, but it's taking into account that he is available from 8 to 5. And then on Tuesdays, since we did give him blockouts in the morning, we can see that he's only available starting from 2 until 4, since it's giving him that hour lunch here as well. Now let's say we want to do a new patient exam. Now we're given the option of provider John Smith. It's giving us his earliest availability. And then if I select see more options, it's going to give me all of the times that he's available because we didn't give him any blockout types. Now let's say we want to schedule an appointment with John Smith at 11 a.m. We'll select this option. The patient is then given the choice to select if they're booking for themselves or if they're booking for someone else. So we're going to stick to booking myself. So I'll go ahead and put my name in. The patient can also leave a message for the office if they have any concerns or questions. So that'll show up in the appointment type. They'll then agree to receive texts and emails from the practice, and they'll go to next. And then as you can see, we did include to ask insurance questions. So here they can select I have insurance, and then they'll choose their insurance. Or they can select my insurance is not listed. They can say I don't have insurance. Or they can select I'm a dependent. So let's say I'm just going to select I don't have insurance. So it gives me this message here. I'm going to go to next. All right, let's get my email. Okay, so the patient will then receive a code via email or cell phone. We'll verify, and now we have our appointment has been booked. And this would be the page that the patient gets redirected to if you decide to add a different redirect link. Perfect. So now this appointment is booked for November 11th at 11 a.m. We can then go back to our appointment list. And now we see that my appointment is booked with John Smith at 11:11 at 11 a.m. The status is accepted because it's on auto sync. This is a new patient exam. I'm a new patient. I don't have insurance, and then the date that I scheduled this for. And then it should also appear on the schedule for 11:11. There you go. Now, for any reason appointments need to be reviewed before they're accepted, they would show up here on this pending appointment list in your schedule as well. But that is all that the appointment booking entails. Is there any questions for me? Okay, I will be sharing an email with some articles that are useful and resources for online booking. This webinar will also be available on the Learning Center. So feel free to check it out again if you need a refresher, but don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.